Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're ready.
Okay, let's do it. Well, I'm Laura Lee, your tour guide on our little SOS like adventure. You know, I'm known in the community as a cartoonist, so it's a bit of a pivot to be like, and now I'm talking about cuddling. But it's really just another form of partnership and creativity. So I'm delighted to sort of be an artist talking about something that artists don't like to talk about. So I got cuddle curious a few years ago. I was in poly community where I was experiencing cuddling with multiple people. And I was like, wow, this is really great. So I was like, I want to do something with cuddling, but I don't know how to get started. So I'm autistic, and so I got obsessed and did research. It was like, this is my new special interest. And there's basically two like cuddle categories out there of what people are doing out in the world of like professional cuddling. So there's the one-on-one cuddling, which is a cuddlist, where you work one-on-one with somebody in a more therapeutic setting, especially with people who have trauma and they're working through like very specific needs with a trained cuddler. And so yeah, Michelle Bernay, I had a Zoom with her when I was doing this and like getting info from her about the whole landscape. And then there's more the cuddle party format, which Jean Franzblau, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. She runs a school and a program called Cuddle Sanctuary. And so that's based out of like San Francisco, and they do more of like group party formats. And I did a facilitation training class with her. And then I read a book by Michelle's partner and cuddlist. So I kind of like studied both of them, like, okay, what's the insight, the starting point? Because they were also revealing to me that, you know, obstacles with getting cuddling out there is that it's normalized that you only cuddle with a romantic partner versus like playful cuddly, like platonic cuddling, like with friends. So that's one reason that it's a little hard to get normalized cuddling. But they also, I learned that before COVID, cuddling was starting to thrive and it was becoming a lot more normalized. But then after COVID, it hasn't quite recovered, because if anything, people are more anxious with each other and even more socially awkward. So we need cuddling more, but we don't know how to do it. So of course, I'm like, ooh, there's a need that I gotta like, it's like, do that. No one's doing it. We gotta like get more cuddles started. But I noted also those formats of cuddling were all about cuddling with strangers. It's like not cuddling with your friends. So my thought was, where's the format for cuddling with my friends? So I dove into what on earth is consent and where are we in this shift in culture right now? And how does this play into it? So basically, the old world is coercive culture. And it's very much like someone has a vision and they're sort of driving other people to do their vision. Versus consent culture is more about collaboration. So we are making the thing together rather than one person is in charge of what's going on. Another way I think of this is power over versus power with. So old world, very much like controlling, powering over people, manipulating them to get them to do what you want, versus power with is more about where everybody has a say and respect. And I feel like it's what we're doing, you know, a lot of us here, especially in like dance communities and creative communities, we're more into working together than like just like, I tell you what I'm doing, like you're like my little puppet. So this is the bigger sort of paradigm shift that we're experiencing right now. And with consent is really presented as permission. It's like, can I touch your arm? Yes, you can touch my arm. Can I put my head on your shoulder? Yes, I can put my head on your shoulder. Can I put my leg against your leg? Yes, I can. It was very much like check every single step of the way, like, can I do this? Can I do this? Which is great, but I like this the more modern framing of consent as co-creation. So instead of, hey, you have the thing, can I have the thing? I want the thing. It's more, actually the thing doesn't exist because we make the thing. It's not like I'm extracting this thing from you that you own it or I own it. It's actually neither one of us owns it, but it's the two of us coming together that makes the thing. So this is the new version of consent, that it's co-creation, which when I learned that, I thought, that sounds a lot like partnership, which is something I talk about a lot with my creative partners. It's a model for healthy creative relationships that I had co-created with a friend of mine, my partner Laura Larkin, and it weaves in a lot of stuff with wellness and self-care and how to have healthy patterns in our collaborative processes. So I was like, this is like exactly what we're doing. This can, like, partnership and consent culture, it's like all the same stuff, we're just using these different words for it. So I got really excited. So the other impacting factors to this experiment are, I'm really into hierarchy. In case you don't know that word, I love to introduce it to people. It means self-organization. So instead of, one person guiding like the vision and telling everyone what to do, it's more how the group is organizing itself, and the leader is more just holding space for what it wants to be and what it wants to become, instead of what I think it's supposed to be. So what this looks like in practice, and I feel like I do this with cuddles, but also in other spaces, it's creating just a safe enough container where there's enough knowns that people feel safe, but there's still some flexibility for things to reveal themselves according to people's needs. So I think of it like a Mad Lib, where we have a container where most of the stuff, there's a framework, there's a structure, but some of the specifics of how it's going to play out is up to the participants. And so it's like, okay, we're going to do this cuddle thing. So I started talking to all my friends, identify who's cuddle curious, who is interested in this. And the sort of influencing factors, oh look, here's dance, were, our dance community and also the Thai massage improv, the Thai massage jam community, and the contact improv community. They're all spaces where platonic touch is more normalized and there's more framing around consent and intention. So it's like, awesome, this is a really good place to start like bringing in this positive mindset. And also my autistic community was a very big influence, because with invisible disabilities, part of our partnering together was if someone had needs, instead of us excluding them because their needs don't fit in with the group, we're actually going to accommodate those needs, and it will actually usually make the whole experience more accessible for everybody else. And then the other factor is that I'm really into rest as resistance. Shout out to Trisha Hersey from the NAP Ministry. So I've been obsessed with her for years and incorporate rest into, like, even creatively. This is me at a Comic-Con with a sleeping spot under my table as like a performance. I was like, who wants to sleep? No one would take me up on it. Because so rest is a big part of what I bring to the cuddling. And so, with all those ingredients sort of stirred together, here's our report of what we created. Da, 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 da. Cuddle news, this is what we found. So first, we found that the practice that was sort of taught to me in the cuddle school originally was more of a pair practice. You practice cuddling with one other person. But we found that actually more is likely to stir up like triggers and trauma for people. Also, like, who am I gonna? It's like pairs, and it's romantic. It's like So we found that actually it's better. We really just want group cuddle. But actually, that's what we want more than just like partner practice. So we started off with probably partner, but then we're like, let's ditch it. Let's just do group stuff. So that was the first thing that we figured out. And so we ended up more of this group huddle format. So the name we're landed on is Society of Smugglers, or SOS. It's like, call emergency. Because also this need for cuddles stemmed out of, especially in autistic unmasking, the need to regulate together. So someone should be like, I had this crazy day, and can you hug me and crush my soul back in my body? So there was this urgency to it, so that's why it's kind of cute. It's like SOS, but also sometimes it's for real. It's like playful, but no, it's real. And okay, so let's introduce you to you a little bit more about what we've co-created. So the vibe is very slumber party, like people with pajamas, it's like cozy, it's very sweet and gentle and playful. I feel like it brings out people's inner kids to be in this sort of like playful, like gentle environment. And especially for boys who did not get the slumber party vibe like girls did when they were young, I feel like that they especially appreciate it. So yeah, so it's very like, and also very restful. One of the other cohorts, they sleep a lot. And then what does one of these, our cuddle jams look like? So it's sculpted itself into this format where we'll have a little opening where I share posters. These are like guidelines. This is here's what to expect, and you know, all the information. So you're like, okay, I understand what's going to go on. Then we'll do a little warm up, which I've been collecting our poses into these menus. There's a couple of them in the little baskets there. So one side are just all warm ups of things that we've collected. And then, yeah, the other side are different poses. Yeah, so we'll do a little warm-up practice, usually inspired by just something that, I don't know, listening to the group of like what someone needs. Like, oh, it sounds like we all got a lot of shoulder pain going on. Maybe we should do a little like shoulder squeeze circle, you know, together. Yeah, then we'll do a long format cuddle, like 50 minutes of more puppy pile format where we'll shift more organically, maybe like every 10 minutes or something. We'll kind of like we'll kind of reform a new blob. But that is like, the time goes by really quickly. But that's where people really sink in. And I feel like that's when the nervous system just gets like this deeply regulated state. But sometimes it's more silly, you know, and then people are laughing, and then like one person laughs, and it kind of shakes the next person, and the whole pile is shaking. It's like, stop laughing! And then we'll close with a spoon train, because that's nice to have, it's spoon train I love, because if you don't know what a spoon train is, I actually have a whole zine on how to spoon with your friends, because the spoon train just ended up such a favorite part that it became like a standard. We just do it at the end of every one. And then a little closing share. So, yeah, and spooning with friends. And spooning is nice because it's maximum body contact, but you don't have to negotiate a lot of stuff with hands. You know, it's pretty easy. It's like, you can have a hand on the shoulder or like a hip. So I feel like it's bang for your buck. And with the cuddle poses, we've created, we have a lot of fun with like creating new poses and naming them and getting really silly and creative. So I just picked a few, which I've also called this one Tetris, sort of like sitting like butt to butt. I don't know, it's like just playing with like different ways to connect our bodies like Lego pieces or Tetris pieces. Yeah, beached whale, someone's just like, I'm just gonna like stack on top of you. And the head foot DJ, I like that one because it's good if you don't want to be in the middle of the pile, but you want to still be there. So, like maybe you were just like compressed in a big pile, and you're like, oh, I need to like some space. So you can sit on the edge of the group, and you can more like, just like play with people's hair, or like squeeze their feet. So we call that person a DJ if you're kind of on the edge. Because also I like differing levels of participation and contact with cuddling, because some of the moves are without eye contact. So I don't know, I just like that it's fun to play with how to do it your own way, so you don't just have to do what everyone else is doing. And yeah, and I keep just adding to our little cuddle sutra. Yeah, and with the poses, when we are co-creating them together, the biggest guideline is that the strongest vision guides, and it's like that hierarchy thing of self-organization. So I'll come into the meetup with maybe an idea or two of like, oh, this would be cool to try, or this could be cool, but really it's more like, does someone else have an idea or a need that they have? Like, I need to just be curled up in a ball and I just need to be like squeezed, or I just need to be buried under a pile of people. It's like, yes, let's do that. So it's less about me or like the leader sort of bossing everyone around. I like that there's just a lot of space for whoever has a strong vision. Okay, and now, benefits of cuddles. I feel like I don't need to tell you guys all the benefits, just like cuddling is great. Because it's the oxytocin, man, oxytocin high. It lasts for, I feel it for at least a couple days when we have like a good cuddle. The like blissful, regulated feeling can really linger. But also it really helps sleep. That's also our usual feedback. And that it can also help ease chronic pain, which I think is incredible. And it makes your skin look amazing. And also it's like fun hair. And it just also cultivates the feeling of connection with each other that I feel like science probably doesn't know how to quite quantify yet. And it just normalizing with your friends, like, oh yeah, like the touch is okay, that they're like a safe person, then you can spill it out more into the real world. So if you're watching a movie, like, oh, how come we're not cuddling right now? Well, we're watching, we could be cuddling. Yes, we could be cuddling. Oh, I can put my legs on you. So to me, that's the biggest benefit, is just how to normalize it more so we can do it, like, take it out into the world beyond just our little cuddle bubble. Cuddle bubble, like, yeah, I think that was all that. Oh yeah, and the parasympathetic, I have to say, the parasympathetic nervous system benefits like science and like, yeah, stuff. Okay, discoveries in this process. So first, I realized I've really struggled with consent over the years because I've not believed my own inner voice, judging like my yes and no on things, but I also did not believe other people's. Like, if someone said yes to something, I would think, well, are they a yes? I don't know, are they just saying that because they want to please me? Are they an enthusiastic yes? So I realized I have a lot of confusion about this. So getting more intentional about communicating about this stuff, oh my gosh, it's been really helpful. So now, by talking more about, to feel out with people, like, if they're a yes or no or something, can I believe you? It's like, oh yeah, now we can believe people when they say yes and no. So our basic rules for consent are that we it's funny, this was just like what came out of the group, and I like it was very concise. The maybes are no's. And I use this all the time with myself, with making decisions. Like if I'm like, oh, I'm not sure, and it's like, we're a maybe, so it's a no, done. And then no's are celebrated. And actually, I've been leaning really into this by giving people permission to say no to me on things. That's really how you want to like encourage that. And to not just tolerate the no, but to really celebrate it. Like I'll say, like, I happily accept your no. Like I get kind of even dramatic about it. But I think it's important to counteract to make it okay to say no. Like to almost like make up for all the programming and pleasing that we have wired into us. And that yes, this should be enthusiastic. You don't have to be like 1,000%, because maybe you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I like that. I'm pretty enthusiastic, I'm not 100%. You don't have to be 100% enthusiastic. But you should be, yeah, like you shouldn't, no one should have to talk you into it. You know what I mean? Because that's a coercive way to like convince you and tell you like, oh, it's like, no, no, no. And these are hard things to deprogram, so that's why it's important to talk about this stuff and in a space with friends and like safe people. And other discovery is that people find it really stressful how to stop doing something. Like you're doing something, how do I stop doing it? I know, so we kind of identified that that's the biggest cause of anxiety. And so the biggest sign is if you're starting to have like thoughts build up, you're like, oh, I want to move, but I don't know, we just sort of got here. That person seems comfortable, should we? So if whenever there's like any rumination, it's really, that's a sign to just pivot. And how to pivot. So I'm a fan of social scripts and different language to help us with, yeah, like how do you just say, I'm done? Because we feel like we're disappointing or letting people down when we name boundaries and limitations. So I always like thank people for trying stuff with me, even if it doesn't work out. Just be like, let's do this. I'm like, it's my idea, but then we start, I'm like, actually, I'm not into this. It's like, yeah, we can just like change. So I feel like this has been a big discovery for me, just to realize that in everything in life, that we can always just pivot. Like, we're not trapped in anything. And let's see, I think final discoveries are this is from our posters and our guidelines, that we plant flags on the way, which just means to communicate green flags and red flags. So to communicate in real time if things are going well, and especially appreciation, and to just name if something is not working, especially if it's like painful, or yeah, if someone has their hand on what they think is your elbow, but it's not your elbow. It's like, communicate. Because I think we're kind of normalized in engaging with each other, that you don't you don't talk about what's going on while you're doing it. You know, there's like almost like a taboo or something. So just to normalize that, yeah, keeping the lines of communication open it's creating more feedback loops. I just love this idea of feedback loops, because I think this is how hierarchy and self-organization works. Is just having more opportunities for input and communication, which can feel scary. So my favorite 3 feedback loops are, so I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, they all begin with A. But it's before an event, the anticipation, like clear communication on like what to expect, like what do you need to know, like also just building up excitement about the thing, then appreciation when you're in the moment, especially when people are doing new things or trying new things, and then aftercare, so touching base afterwards, you're like, hey, like, how did you feel about, you seem, was there something up at this point, just checking in. So kind of just, yeah, like, it's sort of like poly life, just lots of communication is the key. Okay, so those are the discoveries. And now to the takeaways. And then we'll get to some, shift gears a bit. So, let's see, takeaways. We have my little sheet. Let's see, I don't think I had anything for this slide. So I'm going to get into some small moves. So, yeah, I've been talking a lot about our cuddle meetup, but this is going to be a little more just accessible, everyday life cuddle applications. So small moves to me are just really low stakes way to connect with people who, are your friends who have expressed interest in cuddling. That's why I would talk about it with people to see, yeah, who else is cuddle curious? Who's like into this? And doing small things like just putting like your head on someone's shoulder. Or if I'm sitting on a sofa with someone, oh, I can just put like my legs on your lap while we're talking. Or, with friends, like the other day, like, oh, we could just like hold hands. Yeah, we could just hold hands. Yes, we can. It's like this delightful discovery. So yeah, just like small ways, because it doesn't take a lot to get that feeling of connection with someone else. You don't have to have a 50-minute cuddle. You can just have your feet touching, and it's like, wow. And then I'm a big fan of landing hugs, especially in stressful times, and to ask people for hugs, especially when people show up somewhere and they're all frazzled, I just came from work and everything's great. It's like, do you need a hug? Yes. Because I think we all need to help each other regulate, because our nervous systems are in such this constant state of stress. It's like we don't get to complete a stress cycle. We're just like constantly stressed. So I think self-care for me is just about weaving in these restorative patterns, because otherwise the world is just gonna make us sick. So okay, so other small moves I like to do with friends. So cuddling is really when just bodies are touching like a bit, so even just like your shoulders touching, like that's cuddling. So I like this one, especially if I'm like laying under a tree with people, like, oh yeah, let's just like lay and have like and enjoy laying next to each other. Or sitting back to back is really fun. Sometimes I'll do this with friends when we're like out at a park or something. And it's a nice way to connect where also there's no eye contact. So it's a little bit safer. Actually, that's something nice about all 3 of these. It's a way to feel really close to someone, but you're not like staring at each other's faces. So it's kind of, getting the heads together. I don't have a drawing of this one, so pardon my stock footage image there. But I like that one laying like this, but with just like the heads flipped. So I feel like just simple ways to feel more intimate and close with others. that's very low stakes. I like the word low stakes, you might notice, especially with cuddles, because everything is very like intense and serious. But I like, we just have to do baby steps. I'm like, oh, there's one here. It's like, hello. Okay. And then if you're like, these small moves are great, Laura Lee, but what if I'm like really into doing like these deep cuddles? Well, we could talk about, follow up afterwards about starting your own little cuddle cohort. Because the model we developed, it's more for like if you have a group of friends or a community, or maybe it's your household, that you're like, we want to normalize cuddling in our crew. So then I'd come in and I would basically train you and give you like a set of the posters and the little menus, and lead a cuddle session because I like the idea of sort of seeding different little groups of cuddlers around. And then just sort of spreading the normalization of cuddling throughout the community in these different little pockets. Rather than doing like one big public event where 100 people are cuddling together. Because I think, it's kind of more realistic to try to build trust where there's already some trust built. Instead of like, let's start from scratch and get all these people who don't know each other to connect in a very intimate way. Like, let's start with just who's already in our life. Because to me, that just kind of makes more sense. So if you're interested, you can talk to me afterwards. So curious if anyone has any questions about this information that I just like dumped at you. Some of you are like, I know, because I lived it.
Yeah, I feel like a sense of uncertainty about the movement from consent, like the sort of traditional, this okay, yes, this okay, yes, to this co-creation. And
I can explain that a little more.
Yeah.
But what we do for a meetup is I have a default menu of preferences. Because what we co-created over a couple of years was what everyone was kind of basically into. So I have almost like a default like Chipotle order of like people like having their heads touched. But they're not into like light fairy finger touch. People like really don't like that. So it's like, no, but people like, yes. And identifying, what are sort of our shared needs that people have. So that way we have like a sort of a default, this is what people are generally into, but then we can have a circle where people share like, well, where do they vary from this sort of baseline? It's like a baseline to start with. Where people, are into full body contact, generally. So that way people can name if they have like, other boundaries, or they have injuries, or there's a part of their body that, there's something we need to be aware of, or maybe there's like a specific need that they have. So that's part of how, because I feel like the step-by-step can I process that was a bit more of the old form of consent that was feeling almost a little too artificial, but it just felt a little too disruptive to the flow of the experience with just every step of the way. We must check in. It's like, well, what if we talk at the beginning about what we need and what we want to sort of build a container together, so then we can operate in that container, but you can still speak along the way, of course, like, oh, no, I'm not into that, or no, I can't do that, or that doesn't feel good. But I guess to me, it's the co-creating a container of like, this is the thing that we want to explore together, makes it a little more of this co-created version of consent. So you can still communicate, but we don't have to communicate everything as we go. Let's talk up front with more of the communication first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like how it addresses the stiltedness of flow.
It's a starting point,
Yeah.
And then it can evolve from there. It's also, I feel like each little cohort, my hope is that each one can evolve its own way depending on their needs, so that your group could start with our default menu as a starter, but then yours could change. And I think also with practice, it's much less stressful. The first time you can be more in your head just because it's new. It's like, I don't want to mess up. But then as you sort of get a feel of everyone's comfort, I think, and you trust each other more, then it's easier to speak up for yourself. Yeah, it's like agreeing on what's the baseline of what sort of what we're all needing, and sort of starting with that is, because you're kind of creating your own cultural expectations in a little bubble of what is your norm. I think that's part of the opportunity with this sort of partnering, is to talk about ways that we relate with each other that we're not used to talking about, like we're really not used to.
I think it's an organic process, so that throughout the experience, because sometimes things can kind of change in an instant. It's like, oh, actually, my shoulder sees it up, and like, hey, or like, oh, like when you're pressing on my right there, like just keep doing that, and then like it's just, you kind of lay the groundwork at the beginning with, okay, generally these are my preferences, but I think as you go along, then you refine and fine tune, like with anything in life, and there's that opportunity, so you don't have to get it right at the beginning. It's ever moving and shaping and working.
Yeah, for the first year and a half, so we met up every other month, and I would remake the posters every time. So for the first year and a half, I would change it depending on how it went. And anytime anyone had a problem with anything, it directly was incorporated. So that's why I was I feel like now it's ready to share, because we workshopped it enough that I feel like it's settled down on something that feels really, really good and safe to try to share with other folks who are interested. And there's I've trained a couple other little cohorts, which is cool. So I'm curious to see how each one evolves in its own way. Because sometimes ours is really silly, but then another one is really sleepy. They're really sleepy. The other one, they were really into blankets and pillows. I just felt like I was in this mountain of, they were really into all the props. So I was just is this a person? I don't know. So I like the idea. So I'm yeah, we need all the different flavor cohorts, because I'm curious, what do people need? Because this is more a little neurospicy influenced. And also it's sort of with people's different flavors of trauma, I think is also what influences, how we want to connect to each other.
That also emerges out of the space that you have created, because we have this palette of ideas that we kind of agreed on, we all like this type of head scratches and this kind of touch, and we're all kind of that is a yes. But then bikini zone is a no as a general rule, and if it gets beyond platonic, don't feed that and try to take that out of the room. So once you have those two forms, you create this container for gentle exploration. And then when you have permission to say no at any time, you're I don't know if I'm into that, but let's give it a try. And it didn't work. And so that's a way of touching that sensation of, I don't know if I like that or not. Just make it really, really safe to explore and really safe to say no.
Yeah, corrections are done very lovingly. It's really nice to actually having a space to practice, naming boundaries and naming you need to stop something, and naming limitations. I love that they're loving this pose, but I can't breathe, so I gotta disrupt the fun and break up the party. But they're cool, that's fine. Okay.
I'd like to share something. I am a recent cuddler. I don't know, how many months ago did I start cuddling?
Into about 3 sessions now.
Yeah, three sessions. And then recently, my partner, I invited him to come, and he just loves it. So we cuddle each other, we cuddle other people, and it's become a thing that we do, and I'm just oh my goodness, I'm so excited when my partner comes, because he's able to get out of work, and it's oh, what a surprise. But going into it, I was just oh, am I going to be jealous? Am I going? And it's just a beautiful thing to cuddle and be cuddled, and we've learned how to cuddle each other better. It's just a beautiful thing, and I kind of was someone who's don't touch me, because I kind of was in traumatic experiences, but this cuddling has been so healing to me. And so another thing, we as humans, I don't remember the quite number of hugs that we need per day, but it's like 25. That's a lot of hugs. So all of these like cuddles, they are so like good for us. It's like we as human beings need like 25, at least 10, I think, to like, you know, be alive. Whenever I have a cuddle session, I'm like, oh, I'm good for days. I'm like backed up on my cuddles and endorphins. Wait, oxytocin, yeah, for days, yeah.
Before COVID, my favorite thing on school visits is I would tell kids, because I heard a fact it was on the Vermont Public Radio, they'd always say, like their PSA was like, the average human needs 8 hugs a day for maximum health and well-being. So my trick is on school visits, I would just mention this fact to, to somebody, and then the kids would all start hugging each other and collect their hugs like, 1, 2, and it was just like, oh, this is the most delightful little experiment.
Yay.
But then after COVID, I was like, oh, I can't do that anymore. So I think I've had the curiosity to connect with people more in that way, but yeah, how to do it. So I'm glad that I feel like people are now at a point where we're receptive to this idea, because we really need to help each other get through this wild journey of life. And when there's also trauma in community, it needs to be healed in community, because some of this stuff you can't heal by yourself. It's like, yeah. It's very vulnerable to work on healing it with other people, but that's why we're like, let's make a little sweet slumber party container. Because, yeah, it has very slumber party vibes.
But I leave, and I dabble, I leave without doing any substances, and I'm just like, I'm just so high, and just so like, in this bubble of love, I'm just like, oh, okay, cut me off, it's okay, sweetheart, and just for days, I'm just like, oh, woo, woo, woo. So it's amazing, just, what we're able to make in our own bodies to achieve like states of altered consciousness, but that's actually health giving and life affirming, and it doesn't create any addictions, hopefully. Oh, and sorry, one last thing, I've been talking about this with friends, but I think we've all heard about the epidemic of loneliness that's happening in our culture, in our society, and I think this is one of the most amazing solutions for that, because you're developing platonic spaces where people can explore physical intimacy and like how that feeds us, to be able to have like that safe container where it's like, this is all that there is, and we can explore our boundaries, we can explore communicating about our boundaries, and really feeling into having that interoceptive experience of like, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and let me state my needs and ask for what I am wanting, what will help me feel comfortable and safer